space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
You're listening to A Space to Speak Your Mind, a radio show and podcast about mental health made by people with lived experience in association with Cornwall Mind. We do cover subjects that some listeners may find distressing, and for more information, help and support, you can visit cornwallmind.org. I'm Richard, and this is the show for June. On the programme, I'll be chatting to Mark Jackson from Marie Curie to find out why the organisation is calling on the UK government to give 25,000 terminally ill people early access to their state pension. As we enter the summer months, Chartered Horticulturalist and TV presenter Domoney and author of Psychology of Gardening Harriet Gross will be discussing how more of us are taking up gardening to help our mental health. We'll hear from those who took part in the recent Cornwall Mind Firewalk at the Headland Hotel in Newquay. Lisa Aubrey, head of Community Fundraising for Save the Children, will be explaining how young people are leading the way with fundraising to support people more vulnerable than themselves. I'll be speaking with Aaron, who's walking the whole length of Britain to raise awareness of mental health and the homeless. Philippa Brown, a home energy expert, will be telling me why the cost of looking after family and friends who are older, disabled or seriously ill is affecting unpaid workers. And Joe will be here with some exciting news about the new Cornwall Mind wellbeing groups that are starting up soon. All that on the way here on A Space to Speak Your Mind.
A Space to Speak Your Mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
Now, they say there's nothing quite like the green grass of home, and it seems for many of us, the garden has made a big impact in our lives over the last 2 years. With many people turning to gardening during the pandemic to help with their mental health, it's been revealed that it's also a great place to unwind and sometimes even meet new people. To find out more, I'm joined by Chartered Horticulturalist and TV presenter Domoney and Harriet Gross, the author of Psychology of Gardening. Good to have you both here.
Very good to be on the show.
Good to be here.
Talking about mental health, is there a link, do you think, with gardening and good mental health? I wonder, Harriet.
I think the answer is straight away, yes, it is good for mental health and well-being. And certainly the Friends Over the Fence survey showed that 70% of people also thought that. In fact, 3 million people, I think, took up gardening during that time, which I think points to its value for people to be outside. Even though they might have felt trapped at home, they were able to be out in their garden doing gardening or to contribute to gardens elsewhere. And part of that is the absorbing and fascinating experience of being in nature and engaging with plants. And people talk about it as being a break from their busy lives and a way of keeping sane, but it also gives you a sense of purpose and creativity. So it has a really beneficial effect in both helping you cope with difficulty and with creating new ways of being yourself.
I imagine as well, with the pandemic, it was one of the few things we could do, being in our gardens and being outside. So maybe for many people, they were taking it up for the first time. David, do you think really that gardening and doing these other hobbies in the kind of less formal environments, do you think it's a good chance for people to open up, especially about mental health?
Yeah, I think so. Miracle Grow, which has launched this campaign, Friends Over the Fence, which is breaking down barriers so people can engage with other people, their neighbours or whatever, through the gardening activity, because 48% of people often experience loneliness. And we all experience loneliness in different ways because it's so very personal. I did some research a few years back, and I worked with a company that specialised in producing facial recognition technology for security at airports all over the world. And I had them reprogram these facial recognition machines to identify positive things in the face, a smile, an elongated stare, and they reprogrammed to 240 points on the face. And then I randomly, and I did this at the Chelsea Flower Show, randomly put up different images of flowers to identify which site of a flower involuntarily made people feel happy. And there was loads you would expect. Just the sight of a plant can make you feel happy, whether it's the Christmas tree in the corner of the room during Christmas, whether it's a field of sunflowers, whether it's a rose on Valentine's Day, whether it's the first snowdrop. The sight of plants can make us happy. Even the colour of the foliage. I mean, green is often associated with positivity, calmness and relaxation. And as you know, in the media world, both radio, television and theatre, the green room is a very important calming room before either acts go on or guests come on. And this green natural environment generates therapeutic effects, of course, suppressing that rapid involuntary response, which is the sympathetic nervous system. So it reduces blood pressure. Being out in the garden, seeing and engaging with plants plays a positive part because we are hardwired into nature. No matter how much we try to get away with it with plasma screens and iPhones and tablets and a whole host of others, being in nature helps us as a human species.
It really does. I guess, Harriet, as well, it's one of those things where it can be a solo task. So it's something we can take our minds off the worries of the world by getting into nature and growing something ourselves and seeing that plant or that herb grow. But also we can be in a social environment as well, can't we?
We can be in a social environment. It really is a positive experience to be with others who are gardening, and community gardens, which I'm sure David can also talk about, are a really positive way to bring gardeners together, or people who would be interested in gardening together. Of course, you don't need to be an expert gardener to take part. You can be just learning about gardening. You can be asking your neighbours for advice or your friends and thinking about how to go about that. But certainly gardening as a social activity, particularly for older people, can be something that's really rewarding. And also it's something that learning in a group, as a children, as mixed groups across ages, is really good too, so that you can share knowledge and experience and skills across a whole age range.
Yeah, because obviously, not everyone does have a space to have a garden. So, having community gardens is a great benefit. And also the allotments. I know Cornwall Mind, we have allotments for people to have wellbeing groups so they can come along to our Falmouth allotment and our Bodmin allotment. But community gardens are a great thing, aren't they, David, so that people can get involved in the community?
Of course, it's just so much there with a community garden because it becomes social. Let's be straight. And having visited hundreds of community gardens over the last 10 years, since I set up Cultivation Street, which is a free campaign supporting community gardening, school gardening, and gardening for better health. And it's the longest running community gardening campaign in Britain. It shows the difference and the benefits of gardening together. And all of them have a little kitchen or a barbecue. It's a big social thing as well. And you don't have to worry whether you know a lot or a little about it. It's a group of friendly people that are engaged in the pursuit of growing, sharing benefits, sharing seeds, chatting. If you wanted to go there and just work on your own little plot or bed, you can do that. If you want to interact, you can interact as well. It's marvellous. And if you go to cultivationstreet.com, you can find your local communities. You can find local garden centres that are very supportive to community and school gardening. There's planting guides, children's activities that you can print off. There's also advice on the practicalities of community or school gardening, which is fundraising, volunteers and keeping the volunteers, how to market your community gardens. But there's also a national competition which has given away over £200,000 in prizes over the years, newsletters and posters and blogs. There's so much free information to encourage people to garden together, and Cultivation Street gives an awful lot. So take a look on the website and find your local one, or if you've got one, find it as a resource to help you do more.
Yeah, such an important thing to be doing. And just going back to the sort of mental health benefits, I mean, have you seen yourself from people that you've come into contact with, the sort of mental health benefits that they've got from gardening?
Certainly have. I think that it's very important to say that there are real mental health benefits for people by being involved in gardening. Just being able to come somewhere where people will share with you and you being able to participate on your own terms. So as David says, you don't have to be working with other people, but you're working alongside them. And that's a really reassuring and comforting aspect of going out. If you can get brave enough to overcome anxiety or depression and make your way into a community garden or into a shared garden space, there will be space for you to be yourself and to make a contribution. And it's making a contribution that gives you a sense of confidence and self-esteem, so you can improve your own sense of mental health. And all the research looking at people's experience from different groups with a range of mental health issues is that gardening is a really beneficial experience. And of course, it gives you a purpose and a sense of achievement to have done something with your day, even if it's only a small thing like coming in and watering a plant in a pot, seeing it grow and passing on the information to somebody else in the garden.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, as human species, we're not meant to be locked indoors or put in front of screens. We're just not. In the last 15 years since the development of technology, not all of it bad, I hasten to add, but to check your mobile phone the first thing when you wake up in the morning and you check it before you go to bed, we're not meant to be connected in that way. And we need to harmonise our lives and go outside and engage with nature. The World Health Organization says 90% of our lives are spent indoors, in a car, in a lounge, sleep in bed, in the office, or wherever. I wrote a book, My Houseplant Changed My Life, which highlighted how to gain all the benefits of positivity and well-being through growing plants indoors. And that's readily available. In fact, I created a Chelsea Flower Show gold medal winning exhibit at the last show, just basically on that. But if you're looking for information to engage with neighbours and support, if you go to lovethegarden.com, that's lovethegarden.com, there's a free wellbeing journal that you can get. They can also give you a free packet of seeds to get started. And there's also a conversation starter guide, which you can use to engage with your local neighbours. There's a lot of support out there that not only backs up the research that particularly focuses on how good gardening is for your mental health, but also how to make it happen and how to engage. So either looking at cultivationstreet.com or lovethegarden.com, it's free information to help support you and enjoy the passions of gardening, which can uplift the heart and nourish the soul.
That's Chartered Horticulturalist and TV presenter David Domoney and Harriet Gross, the author of Psychology of Gardening. Thank you so much for being here on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
It's a space to speak your mind, and it seems that young people are leading the way with fundraising, with 79% of 7 to 14-year-olds wishing they could help more people in need, and 85% agreeing that helping raise money can help make other people's lives better. Here to tell me more is Lisa Aubrey, who's the head of Community Fundraising for Save the Children.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So we'll talk about young people becoming fundraisers for charities. So is this on the increase, do you think?
It really is. This year, we're seeing an 80% increase in young people fundraising for us compared to this time last year. And it's just an indication that they're moved by what they're seeing in the press, by what they're reading, by what they're hearing about what's happening to children across the world, obviously, especially in Ukraine with everything that's happening at the moment. And they're taking action. They want to make a change.
I guess because there is so much happening in the world, and there has been, especially over the last couple of years. And I guess as well, they're being affected by what they're seeing and what they've been experiencing. But what do you think is really inspiring them to help others?
I think it's the fact that they are obviously very much aware, they're having grown-ups talk to them, they're hearing about these things at school, but then they're also motivated by the fact that there are things they're interested in doing, they've got passions, they've got interests, and they're thinking, actually, I can use this to good and I can make a fundraising opportunity out of it. We're seeing a lot of children take on physical challenges, things that I would have never considered doing as such a young child, things like triathlons, long running races. And it's brilliant to hear about that. But these are things that they're already interested in doing, and they're thinking, right, I can do this and I'm going to do this for something good.
That's always the thing, isn't it? If there's something you can do that you also can benefit from, whether it be physical activity or something that helps you along, it feels like a double win sometimes, doesn't it?
It really is. And do you know what? The easiest and the best fundraisers are always the simplest things. They're things that you love and care about and can do anyway. And then you turn that into the fundraising opportunity.
So there's a thing called the Fundraisers. Can you tell me a little bit about what this is?
Yeah, so this is a new fundraising campaign that is launching by Save the Children. It's inspired by the famous children's author, Julia Donaldson. And what we're doing is we're encouraging children from all over the UK to use their creativity, their enterprise and their kindness to raise money for children all around the world. And if children are interested in doing something, they can obviously speak to their parent or grown-up guardian, and they just need to go to the Save the Children website at savethechildren.org.uk/fundraisers, and they can register there.
And you mentioned Julia Donaldson there. Now, there's an interesting story, isn't there? How we're talking about sort of simple things that you can do. There's an interesting story. I don't know if you can elaborate a little bit on how she founded this.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, really. Julia Donaldson herself used to support Save the Children when she was a young girl. So her and her friend Mary used to pick bluebells in her friend's garden, and they used to sell them. And so they went on and they raised money for Save the Children that way. And that's what's inspired Julia Donaldson to this day to say, actually, I'd love to help support this and encourage other children to fundraise in the same way that I did.
And some children have already been fundraising, haven't they? Have you got a few stories you can tell us about what they've been up to?
I mean, we have seen some incredible stuff. We've got young Ruben, a young boy who's been busking with his cello. We've had Pearl, a girl that raised over £8,000. She wore different outfits throughout lockdown when she was homeschooled. One day she would dress up as like Harry Potter. The next day she'd dress up as another character from one of her stories that she loves. We have Rowan and Evie, two young children who raised close to £4,000 from shaving their head. I mean, can you imagine doing that at such a young age? It's incredible. So yeah, we're seeing a real variety of activities. As I said, it's really ranging from some really physical stuff to really creative stuff as well. So all things count.
Yeah, I think there's some inspiration behind that. I think if people are listening now, they might have a few ideas, some of the things we've talked about, or maybe a particular skill they've got, because it could be really anything, couldn't it?
It really could. I mean, just to give you an example, another child has been fundraising by seeing how many keepy-uppies he can do with the football. I mean, just the simplest thing, something he probably does in the playground all the time, and he's turned that into a fundraiser. Yeah,
and the great thing is, well, they can share that on their social media and with their friends, so it gives them a bit of a lift when they're seeing that all their friends are liking and inspired by what they're doing as well. It just gives them that extra push, I guess.
It really does. It really does. You know, having your friends' support is so important, and it really encourages them to keep going.
So how can people get involved if they're interested by this?
So all they need to do is visit the website, which is savethechildren.org.uk/fundraisers. You know, we do ask that a grown-up, a parent, a guardian helps the child register what their activity is. The child can talk to their grown-up or guardian about what it is they want to do. And then on that page, you can then set up your Just Giving fundraising page. And that's where you can send your link out to your friends, your family, your colleagues, and collect your sponsorship money.
And we'll put that link on our show notes as well on our podcast so people can get involved that way. But for now, Lisa Aubrey, the head of community fundraising for Save the Children, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have you ever thought about walking over hot coals to raise money for charity? Well, the Cornwall Mind Firewalk recently took place at the Headland Hotel in Newquay, where over 30 people braved the heat on their feet to help those across the duchy for better mental health. And here's how they got on.
A space to speak your mind.
I'm Jo Bolton. I'm the project coordinator and the media and marketing coordinator for Cornwall Mind. We have a wellbeing service which is really lots of different groups and projects, and we fund those through fundraising and donations mostly. So it's really difficult because although we're Mind, we're still an independent charity, so we rely on people's goodwill and generosity in events like this to help actually fund our wellbeing groups. So every penny that's raised tonight will actually be spent on those groups. So it stays in Cornwall. But yeah, I'm just happy to be here and just mingling with everyone. It's our first face-to-face event since the whole pandemic, so amazing.
Martin Brownfield. So I'm store manager in the Co-op in St Ives. Well, Mind is the Co-op's national partnership, so over the last couple of years the Co-op's raised £6 million for Mind. This is really important to us because it's Cornwall Mind, so it's something local in the area. I think at least half the people here are from the Co-op. Goodie bags have come from the Co-op's community fund, so yeah, a little gift for everyone taking part tonight. Getting more and more nervous as the evening goes on.
My name's Marie and I'm from Newquay. I heard about it on my Facebook feed, and only a couple of weeks ago I was doing a Tony Robbins event online, and everyone's ranting and raving about this fire walking, and I just thought I'm going to do that one day. And then a couple of days ago I saw it on my feed and I thought, why not? I do fire dance, but I've never done a fire walk before. I've had personal experience in the past, so it's a charity very close to my heart, to be quite honest with you. So I'm really grateful that they spurred me to do this and that it's for them. I couldn't think of a more worthy cause.
My name's Sally and I've come from St Ives in Cornwall. Really interested and really support mental health. Cornwall Mind is fantastic. And I thought it seemed like a challenge, a personal challenge. So no expectations apart from fear. Actually, I am a therapist myself, I'm a counsellor, but I also experience mental health myself, so I appreciate my friends and family, so I thought raising funds, it stays in Cornwall, that's great, you know.
Vicky, really good, yeah. Well, it's a charity that holds to my heart, so I suffer from mental health. I feel like I need to give some of the help I've had.
I'm a bit bewildered by the whole thing. It was hot, motivational, excellent, did it perfect, got me into the space I needed to be. The fear is much worse than actually doing it. Just do it, because thinking about it is much worse than doing it.
It was awesome. Loads of people came out to support us. It actually felt really nice. It's kind of a nice feeling. Yeah, the music was pumping, we were all wired, and if you're thinking of doing it, just do it. It was awesome, and they've raised so much money for charity. So the thought that it could help someone who's really suffering, I'd do it again tomorrow, for sure.
Really overwhelming, and just so proud of everybody here this evening and the great audience that came to support us. So I'm just buzzing. Thanks to everyone for coming and for just facing their fears, and everyone's leaving in a state of euphoria, I think. Hopefully we'll take away some important learning that we can obviously translate to other areas of our life.
It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Training was fantastic. Yeah, it really made the event, I think. Definitely stuff we can take away into other life.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. With a rocky start with the wind, but absolutely amazing. Yeah, I think everyone's just smiling. The atmosphere's buzzing. Well, I think it could be a yearly thing. We've raised a lot of money. It's raised profile of mental health. So yeah, let's do it again.
Thanks again to everyone who took part, and if you fancy doing the same next year, you can register your interest in the 2023 Cornwall Mind Firewalk on the website right now at cornwallmind.org.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
Nobody should die in poverty, yet 90,000 people in the UK do so each year. Nearly a quarter of these are working age and get pushed into poverty because they are diagnosed with a terminal illness. End-of-life charity Marie Curie has released findings of a study that shows that those of a working age are twice as likely to die below the poverty line in comparison to pensioners. And they're now calling on the UK government to give people in this situation early access to their state pension to ease the stress and strain of their final months as part of their Dying in Poverty campaign. Here to tell me more is Mark Jackson, who's the Policy and Public Affairs Manager at Marie Curie. Good to have you on the show, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you're calling for people in poverty to have early access to their state pension. Can you tell me why you're campaigning for this?
Of course, Richard. Well, nobody should die in poverty. But as we found in some new research that Marie Curie has published, that's the reality for 90,000 people across the country every year. And what particularly shocked us is that it's actually people of working age who are twice as likely to be below the poverty line when they die as pensioners. 1 in 4 working age people who dies is below the poverty line. And that's people like Melanie, who has terminal cancer, a 7-year-old son, and she's having to explain to him why they can't put food on the table and why she can't afford to put the heating on in their home, even though her illness makes her feel the cold more. The simple fact, Richard, is that the benefit system isn't protecting dying people against falling into poverty. So what our Dying in Poverty campaign is all about is calling for terminally ill people who are of working age to be given the same support that pensioners receive. And that means, as you said, early access to their state pension, which should be there to support all of us at the end of our lives, whenever that time comes, and also more support with the costs of heating and fuel.
And why haven't people had access to their state pension before? Why is this not being thought about in previous years?
Well, this is brand new research, and it has shone a light for the first time on the impact of poverty at the end of life. We've known for a long time that there is a financial cost to being diagnosed with a terminal illness. If you're of working age, then you're likely to have to reduce and ultimately leave your employment as a result of your condition. And we know that there are additional costs that people face, for example, rising energy bills and the costs with travelling to appointments, adapting your home, for example. But this research really, for the first time, has shown that those financial costs are actually driving people below the poverty line and into poverty. As I say, 1 in 4 working age people who dies is below the poverty line in that last year of their lives. We don't think that's acceptable. And that is why, as I say, we're calling for the government to take action and give these people early access to the type of support that pensioners receive, which, as our research has shown, is effective at helping more pensioners stay above the poverty line at the end of their lives. We think that should be available for everyone who's at the end of life.
And you've illustrated a few people there, but who's really most affected by this, do you think?
It's definitely the case that people who are on lower incomes, of course, are more likely to be pushed below the poverty line, especially if they lose their jobs due to their illness. Another big concern we have is working age people with dependent children, so working parents. Those people are more likely to be pushed below the poverty line towards the end of their lives if they have a terminal illness than people in any other family type. And obviously what's happening there is that's not just one person who's being pushed into poverty, it's also their children at the beginning of their lives, just as their parents are experiencing poverty at the end of theirs. So we think that's intolerable, and we also very much believe that the government needs to be taking more action to support those parents, those terminally ill parents, with the costs of childcare as well.
So can you explain more about this campaign that Marie Curie have launched?
Absolutely, yes. What we're doing alongside this research is we're launching our Dying in Poverty campaign, which calls on the government to take action to prevent dying people from falling into poverty. If anyone listening agrees with us that nobody should die in poverty, I'd very much encourage them to head to our website to sign and share the petition and to help us ensure that nobody dies in poverty.
So really people can get behind the campaign and let their voice be known.
That's absolutely right. The website is mariecurie.org.uk/poverty. Sign and share the petition and as I say, help us ensure that nobody dies in poverty.
So people can head to the website and find out more. But for now, Mark Jackson, Policy and Public Affairs Manager at Marie Curie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
A space to speak your mind.
So I'm here in Porthleven. I'm with Aaron. Aaron, you're here. It's a Sunday evening, lovely evening in Porthleven. What are you up to today?
I just stopped here overnight. I'm walking the entire UK coast to raise awareness of mental health and homelessness. Just wild camping as I go. It was raining when I got here, so I took advantage of this little shelter behind me.
And which charity are you doing this for?
I'm doing it for my own charity, which Aaron's Help and Healing, and I'm directly helping homeless people as I go round.
And what's the reason for doing this?
I just got fed up of the way the public's perception of homeless people is and the way the media portray them all as bad people. And I just want people to realise that anyone can become homeless. It's not just people that are suffering with mental health or drug addictions. And a lot of people go on to drugs or alcohol through homelessness because they feel rejected from society. And I think if we all were a bit more friendly towards them, a bit less judgmental, we can hopefully make it a better place.
And where have you travelled from and where are you travelling to?
I've started at Southampton. I'm going clockwise and I'll end up back at Southampton eventually.
So you're doing the whole coast?
Yeah, the entire mainland.
That's going to be quite a journey.
It is.
And if people are inspired by what you're doing, can they see you on Instagram?
Yeah, if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, it's Mackie Aaron. And on Facebook, it's Aaron's Help and Healing.
Okay, so yeah, it's going to be a fair few weeks and months, I think, for you doing this. But
it's going to be years, like about 5 years or something.
Well, we wish you luck. We'll put out all the posting on our Facebook pages as well, so you can get all the people involved. But we wish you really good success and good luck with this.
Appreciated. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your support.
Great. Thanks so much, Aaron.
Thank you.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
It's a space to speak your mind, and I've got Joe from Cornwall Mind here. So, Joe, good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, good to be back, Richard.
And we're talking about the new 5 Ways to Wellbeing. So can you explain what this is?
Yeah, we're really excited about this. We're launching our first ever 5 Ways to Wellbeing programme. The first one's going to be in Redruth, and we're launching this on Thursday, the 30th of June, and it's between 10 and 12. But it's a face-to-face group running over 8 weeks, and we're exploring the 5 ways to wellbeing. So these are connect, keep learning, give, take notice, and be active. A set of evidence-based actions that have been proven to help improve our mental health and wellbeing and help build resilience too. So we're going to be exploring the 5 ways to wellbeing.
Oh, sounds really exciting. So if I was someone that was coming along to the group, what would I expect?
It's going to be a really friendly, fun group. So quite informal, and over the course of the 8 weeks, they'll be taking each one of those 5 ways to wellbeing and exploring it. What does connect mean? How do we connect? Why will that help our mental health? So they'll be doing all sorts of things, community-based activities, creative activities, and obviously for the Be Active, they're going to be, I think we're going to be having a bit of yoga on one of those sessions. So all sorts, really varied. Lots of time for chatting, socialising, getting to know everyone over a cup of tea as well.
So for someone who's thinking about joining the Cornwall Mind 5 Ways to Wellbeing group, how will it actually help their wellbeing?
Well, I think making small changes to our lifestyle can really help to build resilience, and that makes us better prepared to deal with everyday life as well as difficult situations. And this can help us stay well and feel good about ourselves. And I think we have to find something that works for us in our day-to-day life. So yeah, our programs will provide all of that and lots of social contact, opportunities for friendship. And obviously we've got the Cornwall Mind team there, volunteers and staff. So there's plenty of professional support as well as peer support.
And just remind us when this is taking place again.
The first one starts on Thursday, the 30th of June in Redruth, and it's between 10 and 12. But we will be rolling out more programmes, and we'll also be offering an online version.
And there's some new community cafes that have just been launched as well.
Yes, we've launched some more cafes. So people may be aware, we already had them in Falmouth and Truro. Newquay's back up and running, and St Austell's back up and running. But the good news is we've launched our first Penzance Community Cafe, and that's at Pengarth Day Centre. And that'll run on the 3rd Tuesday of every month at 4 till 6 p.m. And the other cafe is our first ever Helston Community Cafe at Coinage Hall, which is Wetherspoons in Helston. That runs on the 4th Tuesday of every month between 10 and 12, and anyone is welcome to attend. We really look forward to meeting new people in our new towns and getting to know the local communities.
And the community cafes are really just a drop in for people to have a bit of a chat, have a cup of coffee, and just find out a little bit more about what Cornwall Mind are doing.
Yeah, definitely. We've got, again, staff and volunteers there. We love to chat, but we also love to listen. And so we can offer support. And we've also got lots of information. We can help signpost people. Bit of a sort of mental health hub, if you like, in the community.
Okay, so it's the 5 ways to wellbeing and the community cafes. And if people want more information, they can go onto the website, can't they?
Yes, they can. It's cornwallmind.org.
Jo, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Richard.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
Across the UK, more than 6.5 million people are considered unpaid carers for family and friends who are older, disabled or seriously ill. Battling with the ongoing cost of living crisis and with many people going unpaid for this work and responsibility, new research has found that they are largely stretched to the limit and juggling caring responsibilities with work and family life. More than half of unpaid carers say that the amount that it costs them to look after someone has gone up in the last 6 months. 85% are spending more on energy, while 87% added that the price cap in October will make it even harder for them. And to speak more about this is Philippa Brown, who's the home energy expert for Smart Energy GB. Thanks for being here, Philippa.
Thanks for having me.
So how are carers being affected by the cost of living crisis?
Well, we know that the cost of living crisis is affecting unpaid carers, with about 85% now spending more on energy and 86% spending more on foods than they have done previously. And I guess worryingly looking forward, nearly 9 in 10 also think that the increases in energy prices expected in October is going to make it harder when caring for people.
Just explain really why energy prices really affect those that are caring for others.
Well, I think if you are helping pay the bills in some instances, or arrange the bills, or you're helping advise that person on their energy usage in the home, then when you're helping out someone else, and we're talking here about friends, family, neighbours, the little things that you do to help them with their energy use and their energy bills in the home, then there's a big role that unpaid carers do play in this space.
So what are they doing to prepare for, as you said, the energy costs have gone up recently and they're due to rise again in October. So what plans can they make and what would you advise?
Well, we know some are starting to prepare for the autumn, but, over half would like to, but don't know how. And so we're just looking at a couple of little small actions that people can take that get them in control and help them out now. So a couple of things that people could consider are things like getting a smart meter. And that means that you won't get caught out, and neither will the person that you care for, by that bill when it arrives, because you'll have your in-home display and you'll be able to see how much you're using, and you'll be getting those accurate bills. So that can really help people, and is something that might not be front of mind as an action to take with this challenging time. Another thing you can do, it sounds simple, but draft proofing. 35% of our heat escapes from gaps around the doors and the windows, and you can get insulation strips. They only cost a couple of pounds from your DIY store. Put those around those gaps, around the windows, around the doors, even the letterbox, to make sure that you're not paying for heat that's just escaping from the home. And then think about ensuring that those larger appliances and equipment are serviced and functioning well now. So particularly for the person you care for, if they've got mobility equipment, stair lifts, powered medical devices, but also those essential appliances like ovens and washing machines. If you can look at making sure they're serviced and they're functioning well now, then all of these things, getting a smart meter, looking at your insulation, simple draft proofing, ensuring those appliances are serviced, just give you a couple of steps to take now that can prepare you ahead of that autumn period.
I guess really now is the time, because, as the winter months come and the energy prices are rising, that's not really the time to be panicking. If you can at least now look at what energy is being used, look at those cost efficiencies, you can almost plan towards the future, can't we?
Absolutely. And if you can see on your in-home display what your energy is costing you by the day, by the month, by the week, that can help you, plan things like your household budget. And as you say, if you take that action now, then you're putting yourself more in control as well, rather than waiting till the autumn, finding out that the equipment's not working, or you really not knowing at all how much your energy bills are going to be. That's just going to put more pressure on you. And really, you want to sort of take care of those things so you can spend more time with that person that you care for and enjoy the time, rather than spending it worrying and not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, and you also mentioned there about getting things serviced. A really good time, isn't it? Because the last thing you want is things breaking down at a time where you really need them. So, yeah, as we're getting into these warmer months, not using the dryer maybe because we're using the outdoors to dry our clothes. So it's a really good time to just, whilst we have got the opportunities, just step back and look at the costs of what we're using.
Absolutely. You don't want that instance of finding out in the autumn that your heating isn't working properly and you've got to pay emergency call out or a more expensive fee for a plumber or a heating engineer to come round and have a look at what's going on. If you've done it now, it gives you peace of mind and could even cost you less if you sort it out now rather than later on.
Really valuable tips there. If people want more information on the things that we've been talking about, is there somewhere they can go to get more advice from you?
You can visit our website, smartenergygb.org, for more information. And if you're responsible for the bills for the person that you care for, you're eligible to request the smart meter on their behalf. So just contact your energy supplier to do that.
That's great. So people can go there and get more information. But for now, Philippa Brown, who's the home energy expert for Smart Energy GB, thanks for being here on the show.
Thanks, Richard.
That's all for the programme today. If you missed anything, you can always download the podcast. We're on Apple, Google or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from. For help, support and more information for better mental health, you can visit the Cornwall Mind website, which is cornwallmind.org, or you can call the Mind helpline during office hours there on 0300 123 3393. And of course, you can call the Samaritans for free anytime on 116 123 or just email J-O, at samaritans.org. If you want to be part of next month's show, you can get in contact just by emailing aspacetospeakyourmind@gmail.com. And we're also on Twitter @aspacetospeak. And on our Facebook page, you can like us there and you'll find all the information on this month and every month's show, and keep up to date on all the news that's happening here on A Space to Speak Your Mind.
A Space to Speak Your Mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.